Okay, let's unpack this. Have you ever wondered how researchers uncover those, truly rich, nuanced stories that often sit beneath the surface of big data? We're talking about the why and how behind human experiences rather than just, say, the how many or how often something occurs. Today, we're embarking on a deep dive into the fascinating world of qualitative sampling strategies, specifically non-probability sampling. Our mission is to illuminate the various ways qualitative researchers carefully select their focus, not to generalize broadly, but to truly understand. We'll explore the profound significance these precise choices have for the unique knowledge they uncover, giving you a shortcut, really, to being well-informed about the art of deep inquiry.
Yeah, and what's truly fascinating here is that unlike quantitative studies, which aim for statistical generalization across large populations, qualitative research has a fundamentally different mission. It's really about getting inside those lived experiences, understanding specific contexts, and uncovering meanings that often just defy numerical measurement. This means the way researchers pick their sample isn't about randomness. It's incredibly strategic and purpose-driven.
That's a crucial distinction, right? So get ready to discover how researchers choose their participants almost like expert consultants for a complex case, focusing on deep understanding over broad reach and why that makes all the difference in the kind of insights they can gain. You're probably used to hearing about random sampling when it comes to research, that idea of getting a perfectly representative slice of a large population. But for qualitative research, well, that's simply not the goal. Why is that exactly?
Well, this raises an important question. Why isn't random sampling the go-to approach here? The core reason is that qualitative research questions focus on processes, on detailed contextual or historical descriptions, and crucially, on the meanings, interpretations, and explanations people assign to events, activities, and behaviors. It prioritizes validity, meaning how well the data and its interpretation truly fit the situation being studied over statistical generalizability to a broader population.
Okay, so if the goal isn't statistical representation, what is the guiding principle then? How do qualitative researchers actually make these choices about who or what to study?
They employ what's called non-probability sampling. The overarching assumption here is that the investigator wants to discover, understand, and gain deep insight, so they must select a sample from which the most can be learned. It really is like calling in a panel of expert consultants for a difficult, unique medical case. You don't want an average opinion from some random survey. You want their specialized, in-depth experience and competence because it will provide the richest, most relevant information.
Right. I can see how that targeted approach would yield really rich data. So let's dive into some of the specific strategies qualitative researchers use to gather these insights.
Okay. The first, and probably the most common, is purposeful, or purposive sampling. This involves intentionally selecting participants, locations, or even documents because they directly relate to the research questions and are uniquely positioned to provide the most relevant and deepest insights. This selection usually occurs before data collection begins, setting a clear, targeted focus right from the outset.
So instead of casting a wide net, it's a very targeted, almost surgical approach. Can you give us a concrete example of how this might work in practice?
Certainly. Imagine a researcher studying a highly successful learning disabilities program. They wouldn't just pick any program. First, they'd establish specific criteria for selecting that particular program or case. For instance, it might need to have been running for at least 5 years. Boast a track record, say 60% of its students transitioning successfully to regular classes after 1 year. And maybe focus specifically on reading and math disabilities.
Sure.
Once that program is purposefully selected, then within it, specific criteria would guide whom to interview.
I see.
This could mean interviewing all administrators, maybe teachers with 5 or more years of experience, and students representing various ages, time spent in the program, and specific learning disabilities. Really zoning in.
That truly makes sense. You're focusing your lens precisely where the learning will be greatest. It's like finding the absolute best source for that unique insight, almost like finding a master key that unlocks a deeper understanding. How does that fundamentally change what we should expect from qualitative findings then?
Well, it means you're getting deep, nuanced understanding of a specific situation, not a generalizable statistic. And even within purposeful sampling, we have sub-strategies. For example, there's typical instance sampling. That's a sub-strategy where you choose participants because their behavior or experience is considered typical or average for the phenomenon you're examining. It helps ground the study in sort of common experiences within that specific context.
Got it. So purposeful sampling sounds incredibly precise, like you're setting a course before you even leave the dock. But what if the journey itself reveals the best path? Is there a strategy that allows for that kind of dynamic discovery as you're collecting insights? Let's move to our second strategy, theoretical sampling.
Right, and what's truly intriguing about theoretical sampling is its dynamic nature. Unlike purposive sampling, which often defines the sample up front, theoretical sampling happens in conjunction with data collection. The researcher starts with an initial idea, collects some data, analyzes it, and then strategically decides who or what to study next based on the emerging theory. The goal isn't generalization, but rather to extend and refine theoretical constructs.
That's a significant departure from more fixed methods. How does this evolving sample size how does it strengthen the research design? What kind of unique insights does that flexibility unlock?
It truly allows the research to follow the most promising avenues for developing theory. The determination of sample size in theoretical sampling is guided by this concept called theoretical saturation.
Theoretical saturation, okay.
Yeah, this is reached when additional research samples no longer provide new information or insights into your theoretical constructs. They simply confirm what you already know. Think of it like digging for a specific kind of mineral. You keep digging until every new shovelful just confirms the vein you've already found, right?
Mm-hmm.
No new types of ore or geological features emerge. At that point, you've understood that particular vein, and no more sampling is needed. For example, in studies of Haitian fathers, researchers investigated the construct of roll strain in different contexts. They kept sampling fathers from various backgrounds until adding more fathers didn't yield new insights into that specific theoretical concept of roll strain.
So the data itself is guiding the sampling almost organically. That's fascinating.
Exactly.
This really emphasizes the flexibility of qualitative research design, where researchers are truly, as you said, willing to change course after initial interviews based on what they're learning.
Okay, let's talk about case studies. They're a very popular type of qualitative research, often giving us those incredibly deep insights into specific situations. How do sampling strategies play out specifically within case studies?
Good question. The defining characteristic of a case study is delimiting the object of study the case as what's called a bounded system.
A bounded system?
Yeah, it just means you can fence in what you're going to study, whether it's a single person, a program, a group, an institution, maybe a policy. You're setting clear, defined boundaries around your subject.
Right.
Within this bounded system, sampling decisions are then made at two levels. First, selecting the case itself, often using those purposeful sampling criteria we just discussed.
Yeah. And then second, selecting the sample within the case. This could mean deciding who to interview, what to observe, or which documents to analyze inside that bounded system. And this within case sampling often benefits from strategies like maximum variation sampling.
Maximum variation.
Mm-hmm. It's particularly useful for representing different aspects of a case, maybe different people, points in time, or diverse contexts, ensuring you capture the full breadth of that specific bounded system.
So if a case study isn't aiming for broad statistical claims, what kind of understanding does it provide? I've heard the term moderatum generalizations. Can you unpack what that means in this context?
That's a great point. Moderatum generalizations basically means that while you're not making universal claims about all populations everywhere, the deep insights gained from a specific case can illuminate the reader's understanding of similar situations. It helps us discover new meaning, or perhaps confirm what we already know, but in a rich, contextual way. It's heuristic.
Heuristic.
Meaning it helps us learn, discover. Think of it like dissecting a single perfect flower to understand the fundamental principles of botany, rather than surveying a million flowers just for common traits.
Okay. It provides a deeply understood example rather than a statistically representative one.
Exactly.
So, pulling this all together, what does this mean for the knowledge we ultimately gain from qualitative research? How do these specific, thoughtful sampling choices contribute to its unique value in helping us understand the world?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, these non-probability sampling strategies are critical because they allow researchers to achieve a depth and richness that random sampling simply can't provide. They enable a focused exploration of what occurs, the implications of what occurs, and the relationships linking occurrences, rather than just, frequencies or counts. They facilitate genuine aha moments by allowing researchers to become intimately familiar with the nuances of a specific context or experience. And this is crucial for understanding how people construct their realities, how they view, define, and experience the world. It's about learning how people make sense of their lives and their worlds, often uncovering patterns and themes that emerge directly from the data itself. It allows for a profound, really human-centered understanding.
It sounds like these strategies are much less about finding out how much or how often, and far more about mapping the rich tapestry of human experience, the stories, the meanings, and the profound contexts that truly shape our world. So we've journeyed through the deliberate and insightful world of qualitative sampling today. We've moved from the broad strokes of why non-probability sampling is so essential to the specific techniques like purposeful and theoretical sampling and how they apply in detailed situations like case studies.
Ultimately, the choice of sampling strategy in qualitative research profoundly shapes the story the researcher can tell. It really is a testament to the idea that sometimes, to understand the biggest picture, you need to zoom way in with precision and immerse yourself in the specific, unique details.
And that brings us to a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over. If every sampling choice, whether it's quantitative or qualitative, frames a particular reality, how might understanding the how of a study's sample selection change how you interpret its what? Not just in formal research, but maybe in any information you encounter. What kind of story is the selection process allowing you to see, and perhaps what might it be implicitly leaving out?